We are going live now. Okay, so we are live everywhere now. And let me just turn that off. All right, so welcome to the Piano Lesson International Call for the film. As you all know, the Piano Lesson has been having different premieres all over the world, all over the United States, in places like London, in Toronto, at colleges like Morehouse. The PR team at Netflix has been doing a great job sending the entire piano lesson cast and crew around to talk about the film. And the one thing that I wanted to do for the purpose of this call, it's so interesting that, the piano lesson premiered as a film across the United States on November 8th. And those of us who are conscientious and active and believe in engaging in our civic duty, were very disappointed on November 5th, at least the beginning of it. And so, in many ways, we need the piano lesson. We already needed it, but that week in particular, we needed something else to look forward to and something to embrace. That is just a way to remind us of ourselves, remind us of who we are, to teach a lot of different lessons, to engage in the culture, and so on and so forth. And there's really no better person to do that, especially in this moment in time, than the combined activities of the works of August Wilson, the wonderful playwright from the Hill District of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and the Washington family, who have been in Hollywood for so long and have combined their talents to focus on producing all of the plays, introducing Malcolm Washington as the director of this film. This is his first time. And then, of course, starring J.D. Washington as Boy Willie, and so many other wonderful cast members, including Ray Fisher, Michael Potts, Skylar, that's the little girl, she's adorable, Daniel Deadweiler, Samuel Jackson, as many people know, and Corey Hawkins. It's a really, really talented cast, and they have all done a really fantastic job. So for many of you, you just had access to the piano lesson on Netflix only this weekend. It just premiered November 22nd. And so the purpose of this call, one, I'm a political organizer, and I'm an artist, and I'm also August Wilson's niece, and all of those things. But it's really important for us to do this as a people and to do this together. And when I thought about all of the different elements of August Wilson, from the Wilsonian soldiers to all the people that have worked on his plays in so many ways, on stage and behind the backstage and behind the screen, for all of the actors that have participated locally in all of these regional theaters, other than just sort of putting out the film, I didn't see a call to bring everybody together. And it's really, really important to do that. And I'm sure many of you who know me, I'm not doing it for the film per se, although I do love the film. And I think that it's a great introduction to August Wilson. If you've never seen August Wilson, a lot of people still around the country do not know who August Wilson is. So we don't want to take anything for granted. And that's something that he would have told us as well. But I just think it's really important. So full disclosure, I do not work for Netflix. I am not doing this call for profit. Obviously, if you want to donate something, I'd be more than happy to take it. But otherwise, this is for us. This is for us. It's a love letter to ourselves. It is a reclamation of all the work that many of us have been doing. It is a righting of wrongs. It is setting things in place. It is so many different things. And so this is the first international call. There will be another international call. And I can definitely tell you, organizing this call has been hard. It's been like herding cats, trying to get everybody's schedules together and to communicate everything. It's been a little tough, but it's okay because, one, this is recorded. And so we will continue to ship this around. We're just in the studio, and also we have some really really wonderful people with us to talk about all of this together. So one of the first things I wanted to do was just to introduce myself. My name is Kimberly Ellis. I'll tell you more about myself later on. But to start this all off, I really wanted to make sure that we had a spiritual foundation. And so I want to bring up our sister Iya Adeniji, and she is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and she is a priestess and a wonderful person, and she just celebrated her 25th OCHA anniversary. And so, congratulations, Sister Iya. And so, she is going to do our libation. So, welcome, Sister, and we can move forward.
All right. Thank you so much, Kim. For libation, I am so happy to be here to offer this and to join in with our global community. We gather here a global community in the presence of Mother, Father, God, known by many names: Oludamare, Olarum, Allah, Creator, and Source. We welcome and greet each other in peace, love, and our shared humanity. Though I may not hear you, I ask that you join me as we make libation. Libation is a fundamental ritual for African peoples to acknowledge connectedness to those who came before us, extending to those yet unborn. Through libation, we honor and venerate those who made our lives possible, those who came before us, extending to those yet unborn. Through libation, we honor and venerate, we must say that again, those who made our lives possible, our ancestors. Libation reminds us to be humble, as there is nothing that we achieve through our sole efforts. Ancestors brought joy, comfort, achievement, glory, determination, resilience, tenacity, beauty, family, and put faith in our reach. As in piano lessons, our ancestors are not invisible in our lives, nor are they far from us. Hear the voices of the carvings on the piano. Watch as the piano connects yesterday to today, or Sankofa. Listen to breaths of ancestors pulsing through the life of the piano. To do libation, we use water. We use water as it is the most vital element in the universe. It sustains life. It brings life. Ancestors used to bring us this far. They have brought us this far, and we still have a long ways to walk. We use water to purify ourselves, our roads, to nourish our soul, for water is our witness of humanity. Please recall names of your ancestors, your natal ancestors, and our shared communal ancestors as I do libation. As I say Ibaye, giving reverence to our ancestors, I ask you to call those names that you know. Though I may not hear you, I believe that you are doing and giving the same honor and reverence that I do here. When I am finished with the libation, I will ask you to repeat with me Ashe, Ashe, Ashe O, which is equal to saying Amen, 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 and also equal to saying, and so it is. Our libation: Omi Tutu, Ana Tutu, Ashe Tutu, Ele Tutu, Ori Tutu, Omo Tutu, Alafia Tutu, Tutuluroye, Egun Tutu, Tutuluroye, Tutu Ariku Babawa, Tutu Egun, Bopo Egun. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe O. And so it is done. May we walk with our ancestors, allow them to guide us, and recognize that every walk we take with them, for they are alive in each and every one of us, and in our children's children's children ad infinitum. Maferifun Egun, I give thanks to our ancestors. Kimberly?
Thank you so much, Sister Adeniji. We really appreciate you. Ashe, Ashe. I saw many of us saying Ashe. Sorry that you couldn't hear us, but we were definitely doing the response.
Thank you.
And it's so important to honor our ancestors. And that is certainly what we do in the piano lesson. And I thank you so much for joining us. And of course, hang around. We have more to discuss with you, of course.
Most definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. And so, a second part of our spiritual beginning is going to feature, pastor and so many other things, Dwight Andrews. But because Dwight Andrews has been so instrumental in the life and the works of August Wilson, I wanted to make sure that I gave him his propers and to read just a little bit about himself, because what he has to offer is our prayer, and I don't want him to take up that time introducing himself. So I'm going to do it. So first of all, Dwight Andrews is a multidimensional individual, and he has long been considered a polymath. Okay. So I can't even read his entire biography. However, I'm going to focus in on the part where it talks about August Wilson. Dwight Andrews served as the musical director for the Broadway productions, plural, of August Wilson's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Fences, Joe Turner's Come and Gone, The Piano Lesson, and Seven Guitars. Other theater credits include the Broadway revivals of A Raisin in the Sun and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom with Whoopi Goldberg. His most recent theater credit at the 2022 Broadway production of Adrian Kennedy's Ohio State Murders was directed by Kenny Leon and featuring Audra McDonald. He's provided music for the dramatic works of Athol Fugard, Wole Soyinka, and Pearl Cleage. And his film credits include The Old Settler, The Piano Lesson, the first one, and Miss Evers' Boys. Dwight Andrews is currently developing a chamber opera on W.B. Du Bois with noted filmmaker and MacArthur Fellow Louis Messiah. Also, he's completing a monograph on the intersection between spirituality and jazz. All of these varied facets reflect a single-minded focus on the capacity of creative expression to inform, transform, reform our self-understanding to heal and brighten a broken and darkened world. And that's another reason why he is our pastor, who is going to give us the second part of our spiritual opening. Welcome, Dwight Andrews.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim. And thank you for doing this. This is so important, especially right now, given all of the turmoil and upheaval in the world, to be reminded and to be grounded in not only who we are, and especially given August's work and his transformative language of how we think about ourselves. I think that this is really appropriate, and I'm honored to be included with this host of artists and parts of our extended family. The piano lesson for me really does speak to connecting us to our ancestors. And August had a very powerful way of looking at spirituality that was much bigger than religion. He really understood the power of spirit, the connection to the ancestors, and who we are as an African people. So how he accomplished all of that without being preachy, but writing a powerful narrative, was a part of his great gift. And so I'm just happy to be a part of this conversation, because the piano lesson for me was the biggest lesson. It was the way in which we connected ourselves to one another, to our roots, and to the spirits. Literally, they are in the play. They're in and through August. And I'm happy that I was a part of that first one. And I'm happy for the second one. And hopefully there'll be many, many more iterations of August's great work. He's just such an important voice and a blessing to all of us. So let me just give a short prayer of thanksgiving for August and for all of you, and also for you, Kim, that you might continue to be the sojourner for us on this path of self-discovery. Let us pray. Most merciful God, we're so grateful for this day, for this time. We're grateful, and though we call you by many names, we know there is but one God. We come with a spirit of thanksgiving during this Thanksgiving season. We thank you for August and for his work, for his life, for his journey, for his struggles, for his triumphs. We thank you for it all. We thank you because in his work and in his life and in all of our lives, we're reminded, Lord, by your power and your grace, your compassion. Even when there's confusion, you bring a certain clarity and a certain grounding that we so desperately need in times like these. We thank you, Lord, for August, for the ways in which he was able to articulate in such a powerful way, not only our triumphs, but especially our broken places and our woundedness, and helped us to love all of the many parts of ourselves. We ask that in this moment, when we're trying to figure out the way forward, that we look back and see what you have done with us and for us over this long, long journey that is not yet over. We ask that you would continue to keep us in your light, keep us in your path, and keep us always serving you with everything that we think, that we say, and what we do. Most importantly, Lord, we thank you for the power of creative spirit, that we might continue to create and express our love and our gratitude through all of our art and through all of our work, through all of our living and through all of our loving. Be with us now as we celebrate the life of August, the, the wonderful play, The Piano Lesson, and life itself through all of us as spiritual beings. Continue to bless and keep us in all ways. All these things we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. And thank you so much, Dwight. We really appreciate you. And can you just share with us what is your pastoral role and what church do you manage and run? Because I really need people to understand you are not only are you a polymath, not only have you done musical direction and all of these things, but you preside over a very historic church.
Yeah, I'm the pastor of First Congregational Church in Atlanta. It's one of the oldest congregational churches in the South, and it was formed as a freedmen's school right after the Civil War. So we were formed in 1867, along with Howard University and other important early schools and churches. And we've long been, I think, a force for social justice and racial reconciliation. People like W.E.B. Du Bois attended the church, and Booker T. Washington was the groundbreaking speaker for the church in 1908 in its new building. And I've been the pastor there for 30 years, and we've tried to use the church as a spiritual center for all of our self-exploration and discovery. So we've even had Bible studies on The Piano Lesson and on Joe Turner's Come and Gone, because I really believe in the integration of the arts in all of our living. And so that's what I do. And I'm also a professor of music. I was your professor many, many years ago. And grateful for that and that relationship that continues even to this day. So that's what I'm doing.
Thank you so much, Dwight. And you were a wonderful professor. I didn't even call you Dwight until like many years later. So for everybody that does not know, Professor Andrews was my blues instructor. He literally, one of our assignments was we had to write out our own personal blues, and then he gave us the option to sing it before the class, and I took the opportunity. So it was fantastic, and so I thank you so much, Professor Andrews, Dwight Andrews, for all that you contribute, and I look forward to speaking with you again. And just keep hanging around, okay?
I will. Thank you, though.
You're welcome. All right, everybody. So we are moving on to what I call, this whole call is entitled "It's a Family Affair," and as you can see, a lot of us have a lot of overlapping relationships with each other, and so this next part is really sacred for me. But I'm going to let these people tell their own story. And so the next person that I would like to introduce the world to, in case you don't know her, is August Wilson's own daughter, his first and oldest daughter, Sakina Ansari Wilson. and I'm going to give her the opportunity to introduce herself. I won't say anything else. But welcome, Sakina. So happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you
Okay.
well.
Okay. Alrighty.
So, okay.
Go ahead.
So full disclosure, Sakina does not really like public speaking, but she is doing this for you all and for me because I have definitely begged her to do this many times. But I'm always here for you in the background, Sakina. And so, just as a layout, tell us who you are and tell us what your experience was like just being August Wilson's daughter. And, just start off with that. Now I'll come back and ask you another question.
Okay. Well, you August Wilson's firstborn. Um my experience. You know, I appreciate after my dad's passing that people would come to me and say, "Thank you for sharing your father," and that they recognize that I shared him with the world. And he was on a mission. He was very passionate about getting um, his stories out, sharing his gift, and he made it known to everyone that comes first. And so, but I was fortunate to be there, back even going to Yale and seeing the beginning of it, reading some of the plays while he was still working on them, me giving advice once I got older, like, oh, that doesn't sound right, or why did he do that? Or, kind of question and probe things. And in regards to, and actually, I thought about it, I am the actually only one from the very beginning to the very um, end that made it to all of the openings on Broadway. That's what does laugh. In regards to piano lesson, why it is very dear to me. I got a chance to work with Dwight on the Hallmark Hall of Fame piano lesson. So I worked with my dad, and actually that was 30 years ago. And it was in 94, and it was shot in Pittsburgh, and he got a chance to see me work and interact with the cast and things of that nature. So that was one of the few times that we worked closely together. So that's always been a very special. And for me, like, besides Joe Turner Come and Gone, that was dedicated to me, but I was just like too young. Like, I don't get this, it was so deep. So, um, this uh, I could I could relate to. And sometimes I was on the fence. Sometimes I was with Bernice, and then sometimes I was on Boy and Willie side. Um, and yeah, now that I think about it, I would flip flop. You know what I mean? Because I saw both sides very very clearly, and just like as Dwight mentioned, just my dad's brought to spirituality and the ancestors and all the pieces. And then bits of our family, laugh and hear, a particular name, and, know that's the uncle, or know there's a particular character and that's based off of a family member, and things of that nature. So what I also will say, the gift that my father has given me is, um, each time I see the play, I see and understand something different, because now I am grown, I have lived through life, and I've experienced things. And so I feel like he's, when I see them, he's still giving me lessons and things that are teachable.
Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to bring Dwight back onto the stage. Dwight, it's Sakina. Um, do you have anything that you want to share? Because I wasn't thinking about the fact that both of you worked on the original Piano Lesson movie. So, do you want to ask Sakina anything, or would you share any thoughts?
No, because I don't want to embarrass her. No, but Sakina, it's so good to see you. And yeah, I don't have any questions. I just want to say that, Kim, as you talked about the fact that we're bound together on so many different levels through so many different types of relationships, one with the work, also with August, also with your family. I mean, there are many things that tie us all together. And I think that's one of the blessings of family. So, Family Affair is the right title because the piano lesson is a lesson in family, isn't it? It is
Yes.
a lesson in family. And you don't determine who you're born to, but you become grateful as you get wise. You're grateful for whatever family you were born into. And Sakina, you were born into a wonderful family with an amazing father who I got a chance to know and love. And it's great to see that he's still sharing his lessons through you and with you. So that's the blessing of what great work can do, right? Great
Yeah,
people, great work. It still resonates. That's the wonder. That's the wonder.
yeah.
Mhm.
And for
Thank you.
me, yeah, and for me, that's why the piano lesson of all the plays, the piano lesson, well, for a lot of different reasons, but the piano lesson I think is the one that seemed the closest to me because I saw all of my people in that play, all of them,
Mhm.
the good, the bad, the ugly. Um, they were all there, and it was wonderful to be at the table with them.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I just want to give you the opportunity, Dwight. And so it's a pleasure. I'm going to ask Akina another question. All right. But thank you so much for joining us again.
Hmm.
So, Sakina, I guess um, you and I attended the Toronto Film Festival. That was our first time seeing the piano lesson.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, full disclosure, um, everybody gave the piano lesson a standing ovation. It was a very large theater. And when we found each other in the auditorium, we just hugged and cried. Tell me about that moment and why you cried, because I know why I cried.
Um, it was it was it was for me, it was like now there is a whole new generation that gets a glimpse of my dad's work. And what I hope that the film does is uh, let them become intrigued to actually read the play and to get a full scope of the piece. And like you said, there's a lot of people who um, don't know who my dad is. So with this coming out, we're all in the streaming world or whatever. People want to sit at home. They get a chance to get learn about my dad's body of work. And also for me, it was like that audience was amazing. Like they were so receptive. I mean, if I had closed my eyes, I would have thought that I was at a theater, at a Broadway house or any regional theater because they clapped when I would remember the audience would clap. They laughed at the audience. And I was like, oh, if the essence of this piece is still here because they're reacting in a way that I've seen audience react when they are looking at the play. So it was I was just moved to see that it was treated with love and care.
Indeed. And do you want to say anything about your brief or anything brief about Malcolm Washington in particular as a filmmaker, or Virgil, Williams, the co-writer?
Yes, I like I said, I can tell that they treated it with respect, and I appreciated that. And to afterwards to meet Virgil and to hear and see how moved he was, that I enjoyed the piece. It's just like, okay, I feel like I've done August some justice, and I've done the piece some justice, and Malcolm as well.
Yes. Okay. Is there anything else that you want to share, Sakina, about yourself, your father, your existence? I mean, I'm just saying.
I got you. I got you. Put me on the spot. Let me see. What else? Is there anything else I want to share? Hmm. I'm. You know what? I will. You know, it's amazing that things, and that's what things that my dad wrote. You know, a lot of these things are playing out, and I would say when people would ask him to write, autograph in the playbill, or sometimes he would write books, he would put the struggle continues. And I used to think, well, dang, when is the struggle going to be over? Whatever. And unfortunately, what his words that he would write to people as that reminder still remains true. The struggle continues.
Thank you so much, Sakina. The struggle definitely continues. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
The audiences will see you more in the future on our future calls, and really appreciate you giving your time. We know you're in transit, so
Yeah,
thank you so much for giving your time.
thank you.
Okay, so as we move on, and thank you all so much for hanging around. As you see, are you all enjoying the call? We've got some great people lined up. Really excited. I see who's in the studio. So really excited for you all in terms of this call. And I think the next person that I definitely want to bring up um, would have to be my own brother, Paul Ellis. And Paul, welcome. Welcome to the studio and the stage.
Thank you.
And Paul, would you, you have a unique story as well. So I don't want to limit you, but I would love, because everybody knows, well, maybe everybody doesn't know that you are the founder of the August Wilson House.
Mhm.
But prior to that, because that is not your total reality, I would like for you to talk about what it was like to just grow up and be a part of the plays and be with Sakina and your mother and August Wilson. Like, what was that like?
Well, yeah, I mean, as you can imagine, I hope my audio volume is okay.
No, turn it up a little bit, please.
Okay. Um, I'm looking for it. Sorry.
That's okay. I mean, we can hear you, but it's just a little low.
Okay. All right. I'll find it somehow.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, is this better? I think I found it now. It's increasing.
Okay,
Testing,
keep increasing it and move up a little bit.
testing, testing, testing.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. Just going around with it. Yeah, I mean, as you can imagine, it was a very unique experience. I'm always, torn when I'm, responding to questions about, the history with my uncle and whatnot, because it's just so much, and it's just never enough time to do it. I'm so grateful for the piano lesson, the movie version. When I saw it, what it felt like was a culmination of all the different versions of the play that we have seen all over the country. Um, it's just absolutely fascinating to me. And I remember, for those of you who may not know, when August when my maternal grandmother passed away, August Wilson's mother, we used to get together. It was sort of like a family reunion, right? I mean, from 1980, my grandmother passed away in 1983. Um, every year after that, we got together at my mom's house in the Hill District of Pittsburgh, and the family just came together. We used to talk and exchange stories and things like that. Um, and I've always been a night owl, so I used to stay up like really late with my uncle. And those of you who know him, if you let him talk, I mean, he could go. He could really go. So we we used to just sit up late at night, and he would, tell me about all of these different characters that he's developing, including the piano lesson. I remember when he first told me about, the ghost. I thought he went too far. It was, it was, that may sound strange, but I mean, I was a teenager at the time, and the quality of the writing was so good. Yeah, I remember I was like, why do you need a ghost? I feel naive even saying that, but especially considering the job that, that Malcolm and John Denzel did. But back then, I thought it was a legitimate question. Um, but yeah, just imagine hearing and learning about that. That's one thing I'm very grateful for um, over the years, is being able to have a direct insight into the plays and the characters and the meaning. It's anyone who has gone to see his plays in Broadway. Um, some of them are very long plays. Some of them, if you haven't seen the other plays, you might not get all the context because a lot of the characters are related. So it's being able to understand it, um, and see and get the the behind the scenes, um, meanings and things like that. That made it for an even more enjoyable experience. So that's something that I'm very grateful for.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. And can you tell us about literally the relationship that you and August Wilson had in preserving what is now the August Wilson House? Because I think it's important for a lot of people to know that you all started that journey together. It wasn't just you doing it. So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah. So my uncle, we had a running joke about who was going to acquire his childhood home first. And because he wanted to purchase it for a long time. He thought it would be a good cultural mechanism. So did I. But the prior owner didn't want to sell. So we were just going back and forth about that. Um, I the joke was, I said, well, I'm local. You're traveling all over the country. you know, um, giving speeches and collecting awards and honorary degrees. I was like, it's like, you know. So I eventually did acquire it, and I shared that with him um, at the at the premiere of when we were up in Yale to do the premiere for Radio Golf. That's when I shared. But I wanted to share it with him in person. Um, what he said, um, uh, I was really pumped up at the time, right? This was in 2005. It was February, March 2005. Neither one of us knew that he would be diagnosed with a terminal illness at that time. I'm pumped up. I'm like, I'm getting ready to do all this programming with my uncle. He had asked me about, heading up a foundation in his name. We went to New York, talked about him. I met him up there. Just to it was legacy. It was all legacy conversations. Um, so I this was sort of the backdrop of all those conversations that we had about um, the community and opportunities for struggling artists and the underserved and things like that. These were ongoing discussions that we had for years. I mean, my uncle was the one who um, he taught me a lot about second class citizenship and and racism and civil rights and things like that. I learned a lot of that from him during my formative adolescent years. So uh, so you can imagine, fast forward to 2005 when he announced to the world that he was terminally ill, and he eventually passed away in October. I had to really reset and regroup and think about, okay, well, what am I going to do now? Because um, something has to happen with his childhood home, and it has to be something significant. It has to be something that substantively reflected the quality and the substance of our conversations. I spent many months just crafting a vision, and sort of tweaking it the way he would, right? And eventually I came up with something that I felt comfortable enough to shop around. The Pittsburgh Foundation gave me a $35,000 grant to do a feasibility study, um, and then a couple other things happened along the way. People just reaching out, helping me elevate the profile of the August Wilson House. News reports, just all the things that you have to do to grow a nonprofit. At the time, I didn't know the foundation community that well, and the funding manager. So just building those relationships, and then so that's what I was working on for years. Putting together the board and whatnot. So I'm very grateful for the experience. It is a tremendous blessing to be able to give back to your community. My uncle wanted to be a lawyer, so I get a chance to have those conversations with him, and I get the chance to represent him on some stuff also. I was very grateful for that. Um, and then of course, and then eventually, I crossed paths with Denzel Washington, who decided to get involved on a level that on a supportive level, and so we worked together and eventually got the project done. I'm very grateful for the team that um, uh, Ralph Foffen, the architect, and Denise Wilson, Denise Turner, one of our early board members, along with my mom. It was just fascinating. We worked tirelessly um, on this project, and eventually it came to fruition. So um, I think one of the things that I'm most grateful for to this day is being able to point to a world class institution right in my backyard. We were determined to bring something of substance and quality to the Hill District. And, before that, a lot of people lamented the absence of opportunities like that. The August Wilson House is one of those projects that, people would complain about it not existing. And now that it does, we're able to focus on the expansion and the organizational capacity, of course, the fundraising, and doing all the things from a programming standpoint that will allow us to continue to make a significant impact on the cultural community nationally and locally. So I'm very, very grateful for that.
Thank you, Paul. There's somebody that you've forgotten who played a significant role in the creation of the Daisy Wilson Artist Community in the August Wilson House. Who might that be?
uh, well, I mean that there's some cousins and some uncles floating around. Uh, no, I listen. My sister, played a pivotal role, and I never heard of the term artist community. I was struggling for a name. I didn't want to name it the August Wilson House initially, because I wanted to pay homage to um, uh, our grandmother, his mother. I mean, that was very important to me. She was a super hard worker. She was actually a janitor in the same courthouse that I practice in to this day. And she would come home. She had these very large hands. She had these very large hands, and she would come home, and you could smell the cleaning products on her hands. And she would get up on Saturdays and be cleaning the whole house. My grandmother was an extraordinary woman, and she passed on that work ethic to my uncle, and my mom. And I stress that to people sometimes because a lot of people forget that my uncle, dropped out of high school. And I've told people before, I said, even if you never heard of August Wilson, if someone told you that uh, that a young man dropped out of high school in the ninth grade and then went on to become one of the, you know, greatest authors in American history, you would wonder what that story is. You'd be like, well, how is that possible? you know, it's just, it's an, the story behind that is just absolutely fascinating. So I just say that to say that when my sister came back from her one of her conferences and shared that term with me of the artist community, I thought that's perfect, because it's the focus is on artists and programming and things like that, and of course the community. I mean, we first and foremost, um, if you guys don't know about the Hill District, it has a fascinating history. So we wanted to make sure that we did something that was appropriate for that history.
Indeed. And, I think it's important for people to know that the Hill had always been a bastion of different artists. Like we're here talking about August Wilson now, but I mean, now Phyllis Hyman, she lied and said she was from Philadelphia, but she was from Pittsburgh. Not that she was from the Hill, but she was from St. Clair, and that's somewhat related. But George Benson, there's a lot of people from all the jazz greats that came through. Stanley Turrentine, Dizzy Gillespie visited, Lena Horne, Walt Harper, Mary Lou Williams. I mean, the Hill has always been a bastion of wonderful artists. So I think it's so appropriate, whether we still have the name Daisy Wilson Artist Community or not, it's just appropriate to have a name like an artist community, and the understanding that the Hill District is an artist community. And in fact, we're going to talk to two people that are cultivating the Hill and others in Pittsburgh as we speak. One thing I want to mention is with the creation of the Daisy Wilson Artist Community, one of the reasons why we did that is because there was a lot of drama around the August Wilson Center downtown. And that was previously the African American Cultural Center. And so, long story short, it fell into a bit of a quandary where it was possibly going to be sold, and people were really upset about it because it was like, what do you mean the August Wilson Center is going to be sold? And it was really a tough time. And so, I am a digital strategist, and I thought, it's really important for us to brand the August Wilson House well, and to brand it distinctively, and quite frankly, away from the August Wilson Center and that negativity, because, it wasn't fair, and you don't want to drag down August Wilson's name just because there's trouble with the building downtown, which had already been politicized and things like that. So long story short, we worked on that. We focused on the brand, and built up a really strong brand so that people could understand. And I also want people to remember that you had people coming from all across the world, literally, to look at we put up the National Historic Landmark in 2007, and people came from across the world just to stand in front of a dilapidated structure that they knew to be August Wilson's house. They didn't even, I don't even know if we had captured it in terms of the property yet, or even if we did, it was like on the demolition list. I mean, there was just like a lot of drama around it. But people like Lenny Henry, he went on to play Troy Maxson in London. He's also a very popular person in London, and he came over. I mean, it was just so many different people that would come and just stand in front of the sign and in front of the building. So it's really been a beautiful journey. And I wanted to make sure that we told that journey at the Association for the Study of Life and History conference. So Paul, we're going to bring you back, and I'm going to bring up Mr. Marvin Delaney really quickly so that we can talk about Asala and our role there. And in fact, you could, I'll bring you right back up, Paul. Thank you. We'll be back.
Okay.
So, Mr. Delaney, our president, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Okay, so tell us about the Association for the Study of Afro-American Life and History. For those who don't know, let's just assume they don't know about this stalwart organization.
Sure. The Association for the Study of African American Life and History was founded by Dr. Carter G. Woodson in 1915. We are the founders of Black History Month. As you know, we started Negro History Week in 1926. We have an annual conference that focuses on African American history and culture. We go from city to city promoting the study of African American history. And this past September, we were actually in Pittsburgh. And it was so great because we had Dr. Ellis as a part of our conference. She did a keynote address at one of our luncheons. She also did a presidential session on the founding of the August Wilson House. And let me just say, it was sort of fortuitous that we were in Pittsburgh because our theme for Black History Month and for the Black history in general this year was African Americans and the arts. And so it was, as I said, fortuitous and quite appropriate that we were in Pittsburgh because there were so many artists there who made such an impact on African American history and culture. Well, of course, obviously, August Wilson, the play, the piano lesson, looks at heritage, indeed, how that family began to understand and reclaim their heritage, sort of fits into what Asala has been doing during its 109 years of existence. So, in fact, our 109th annual conference was in Pittsburgh, primarily because of the arts tradition there, specifically, of course, the African American arts. And so we were glad to be in Pittsburgh. We worked with the local community. Dr. Ellis also did a wonderful tour, which of course took some of our members to the August Wilson House, as well as to the historic African American Hill District. And so it was great to be in Pittsburgh. Now, one of the things that has happened, the struggle does continue, as you know, throughout the southern states in particular, as well as some of the Midwestern states. They have tried to restrict the teaching of our history in public schools. And so Asala, in terms of continuing the struggle, has developed a new initiative we call Freedom Schools, in which we're working with young people at this time in 6 cities across the country to teach Black history. Basically, since the public schools have decided that they're going to restrict it, we're going to indeed attack that whole notion and again continue the struggle that we've been doing for 109 years. Basically, for example, in my own history and experience, I'm a professor of history. And of course, I remember when we started the Black Studies movement in 1967, 1968, and there was resistance in the public schools. There was resistance on college campuses to the teaching of African American experience. But we won that fight. Now we have PhD programs at Harvard, University of Texas, and at many universities across the country, again, focusing on the teaching of the African American experience. So now here we are again. Again, we've come in almost full circle where we have to continue this struggle to make sure our young people learn our history. We have to continue the struggle to make sure that not only will Asala teach and promote the African experience, but also that the public schools and colleges and universities in this country carry out that same mission. So when Woodson started the association in 1915, it was one of the worst periods in terms of race relations in this country. And again, it's almost like we've come full circle. In that period, there were lynchings and race riots, and this notion that people of African descent had no history. So part of why we have our annual conferences, part of why we published the Journal of African American History, part of why we published the Black History Bulletin is to make sure that our history continues to be included in the nation's history, because Black history, of course, is American history, and there would be no American history. I don't say that in all frankness without the African American experience being a part of it. So it was great to be in Pittsburgh, Dr. Ellis, and we plan to come back as soon as we can.
Good. And thank you so much for giving us that lesson on the importance of our history. I will tell you that, so long story short, ASALH they were trying to, because a lot of these people are educators and they're a little bit older, and they know Denzel Washington more than they know
Yes.
John David
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
So they were like, we want Denzel Washington. And I was like, but the thing is, I don't know, because he has his own film. Like, so you all are seeing now that the Washington family, they're not playing with y'all this year. They done come out with 2 different films.
Mhm.
Denzel Washington is doing The
Yeah.
Gladiator. He's
Mhm.
talking about the films that he's going to do for the next 10 years. And then Malcolm is out here busting out with August Wilson's The Piano Lesson,
Mhm.
and John David Washington as well.
Yeah.
And John David, so what he did as a favor to ASALH and me, you know, quite frankly, because I asked, he did a video specifically for the 135th conference, and he was really humble and pleased that, like, these are the people that actually teach, you know, the history to the
Right.
young people.
Yeah.
And so I had heard him speak earlier in Toronto on stage, and one of the things that he said that I found that was really striking is he said, you know, August Wilson, it changed me. I'm changed now. I can never go back.
Mhm.
And this is not John David's first film.
Yes.
You know, he's been out there a little bit, you know. I don't even remember his entire resume, but
Sure.
you know, he's done some films. He's got a handful of
Right.
films, and he is already considered a star. Maybe he's not, you know, top, but he's up there.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so for him to say, I've been changed, you know,
Yeah.
from doing an August Wilson play, that means a lot. It says so much about the empathy, the openness, the open spirituality, the way that he was able to connect with the language, the authenticity of it. And what I remember also, and this is why because when I bring up the next person, you'll understand why I'm sharing these thoughts. When people have direct interaction with August Wilson's plays and they engage with it authentically, and like Sakina said earlier, she is August Wilson's daughter. She's been to all of the premieres,
Mhm.
but even today, she is still learning. And we all have that same experience. If you keep your ears open, people always ask us, like, you know, why do y'all keep going to the plays? Because
Mhm.
there's still just so much to learn. I mean, it's, you know, August Wilson was a poet before he became a playwright. So you're going to get those metaphors, and those metaphors are going to hit you different if you see it at 15 years old from seeing it at 30 years old to 50 years old. And so that's why. And I thought that it was really striking. So John David Washington, who stars as Boy Willie in the film The Piano Lesson, he recorded a video for ASALH, and the audience really enjoyed it. So if you are a member, ASALH will send that video to the membership, because that's, you know, that's who it was for.
Yes.
But we really appreciate you, John David Washington, for doing that for us. And I do love what the family is doing, and I thought it's really important that the Washington family, I think I'll say it now. I mean, there's more to share, but the Washington family, you've got, well, I'll give it a moment. I'm going to explain it
Sure.
before I introduce this
Well,
next.
let me say something before you push me off here.
Oh, no, you're not going off.
You know, we really appreciate and we thank you for indeed bringing that film clip from John David Washington to our solemn meeting, and having it be a part of your presentation on the Friday luncheon. Again, that was just perfect. Again, we're a historical association, as you know, and the wonderful thing is that August Wilson's plays fit perfectly in what we do. You know, he did those plays for each decade to tell the African American experience. And you know, I've seen all of those plays, and I often, well, I sat and I wondered. I said, how much research did this man do to tell these stories about each of these decades, and to get it right? And so again, it's art and history combined, which of course is what Asala tries to do. We try to look at all aspects of the African American experience. So again, thank you for being a part of our conference in Pittsburgh back in September. and it worked perfectly in terms of everything that we wanted to do in Pittsburgh, celebrating the arts, specifically through August Wilson.
No, you're welcome. And this was, I definitely appreciated giving the keynote. And a lot of people, they said they didn't understand August Wilson's cycle. So when I explained the cycle, they were like, "Oh my goodness, I had no idea, this happened." And it was great to share that. But more importantly, President Marvin, can you tell us how to get in touch with ASALH?
Sure.
I know you want to encourage folks to be members, and family, you do need to be a member of ASALH. This organization has been having conferences for 135 years. This is not a game. So, President
Actually, it's 109.
Yeah. Oh, 109. Okay, I'm
109.
sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so 109. So tell us how to become a member.
Sure. You can actually go to our website, and we have a great website, www.asalh.org. Again, that's www.asalh.org. You can join online. You also can get information on Black History Month. You can get the history of the organization, learn a lot more about Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who indeed was a pioneer, like August Wilson in a very real sense, in that he saw a need in the early 20th century for the study and promotion of our history. And indeed, thank you for putting that up. So that's www.asalh.org. Check out our website. We have a special membership campaign in December. Dr. Woodson's birthday is on December the 19th. And so every year around his birthday, from the end of November through January, we do heavy recruiting for membership in ASALH. And again, you'll get the Journal of African American History, and you'll get the Black History Bulletins, the two oldest publications in the country that indeed tell the story of African Americans, in which you have historians presenting their research on the African American experience.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much, Marvin Delaney. We really appreciate you. And I'm going to bring on the next person who also presented at asalh.org and at the Pittsburgh conference. And so thank you so much for joining us. And we may bring you back up, but I'll see you. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, everybody. So again, check out asalh.org. An organization that has had 109 conferences, which is absolutely amazing. So the next person that I would like to bring up also has a family affair going on, and that is none other than Mark Clayton Suthers, you all. Mark Clayton Suthers, he's done so many different things, but I don't want to steal his thunder. All I want to say is Mark made a commitment when he had a very small theater here in Pittsburgh. August Wilson was also one of his mentors, also very impactful in his life. And Mark's commitment was, you know what? I want to do all of August Wilson's plays in the order in which they were produced. And that inherently meant that he was not going to be doing plays, like he wasn't going to do the premiere of a play, right? That sort of locked him in to a certain extent. But the one thing I definitely know about that is that August Wilson really respected that about Mark. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to bring him up, and he will tell you his robust story himself. We're very happy to have you. Welcome, Mark Clayton Suthers.
Hey, thank you, Dr. Goddess. How's everybody doing? Thank you. I feel honored. I'm glad that I got to hear Sakina and Dwight. Sakina, Paul, Costanza, Dr. Kim, thank you for sharing August with the world. Because like Sakina said, he was all about the work. He was all about it. He was laser focused, tuned in, and he saved my life. mentally.
Mhm.
When I met August a long time ago. I mean, I saw him reading to kids up at Kennard Field back in the 70s, you know. Um, then I met him in the early 80s as a photographer for the Pittsburgh Courier. But I really got to know him in 1998 when I was performing in South Africa. And that's where I met Sakina. I was there along with Derek Sanders and Javon Johnson. I'm sorry, I was there with Derek Sanders in South Africa. Then later that summer, um, we were hanging out with August in Alaska again. So I got a heavy dose of August Wilson in 1998. And I also lost my father earlier in that year, and I had started writing poetry. Javon had got me into writing poetry to express myself, and meeting August kind of got me through that rough patch. Um, but August was just a great person. If you knew him, if you got to know him, you knew what a true griot was. Um, I just had a few things I want to say, and then I want to talk about the piano lesson. Um, One of the things I always say in a lot of interviews, and this is just my own personal belief, is that I think that August was partly responsible, were hugely responsible for Barack Obama getting elected. And the reason why I say that is because, August's plays have been up on the national level in regional theater and on Broadway since the early '80s, and a lot of folks got to see his work who weren't privy to Black life and Black culture. They got to be a fly on the wall and hear the vernacular and how we talk and how we interact with each other behind closed doors, even though we're on stage. And they got to see this, and they got a chance to have a better appreciation for Black life and for Black culture. And I think a lot of those folks, a lot of those liberal folks who went to all these regional theaters across the country, and we all know what the makeup is in the audience of those shows. Um, we got to see they got to see Black culture and Black life, and like Denzel talked about when he talked about fences, that it's different than what people like to say what it is, but it's different. We don't go to the same barbershops. You walk in a room and you smell different smells. It's culture, and I think that a lot of those people remember those moments of experiencing Black life on the main stage of these big theaters. And I think when it came time to elect Barack Obama, I think that they had a better appreciation for Black life and Black culture. And those are the votes I think that help push him forward, along with our votes. So that's just my opinion. And so I think that was August. August is working on the struggle that continues through his work, the work that he put in to make people appreciate Black culture. One of the things that Dwight said, that he saw all his people in it, that's what I love about the piano lesson. I see my uncles, my aunts, my cousins, I see everybody in that play particularly, and it's a really great piece. Boy Willie has his say, Bernice has her say, and they both have their reasons about things, and they both make sense. And that's one of the strengths of August's work, is that he gives both sides a chance to air out their grievances and to get it out there. And you're in the audience, and you're like, yeah, he's right, he's right. Then the next person comes back with the rebuttal, and you're like, you know what? They got a point, And that's just a really great thing, because he writes about the common man, and I think that a lot of people in different countries and a lot of people with different backgrounds can relate to his work and have appreciation for it, and that's why it's standing the test of time. Um, a lot of folks, and I've heard people up on the high levels who have the ability to say things. They speak about different playwrights and stuff. I'm not afraid to say that August is the greatest American playwright ever. He is. I mean, if it was a sport and you went by statistics, he's the greatest ever. And I have no problem saying that. He'll never be duplicated ever. What he's done with his American Century Cycle is going to stand the test of time. I I wanted to talk about briefly because you talked about the family affair. I was in a major vehicle accident back in 2015, and it was the strength of the prayers of my wife and my mother and our close circle of friends that got me through that. But what also got me through it was a community of artists and folks who visited on a daily basis. I probably had 12 visitors a day. But another big part of it was August. Um, I was in the hospital in 2015 for 4 months. 4 months. I was at how many different hospitals, these? I was at 4 different hospitals. I was in the hospital for 4 months. But during that same calendar year, I directed 3 August Wilson plays. So I did Radio Golf at American Stage Theater in January. Um, and I was part of the August Wilson Festival in Chicago. Chuck Smith brought me up, and I directed a reading of Jim in the Ocean with Greta Oglesby. And then I directed Fences for the Pittsburgh Playwrights. And I only got to see opening night, and I really didn't get a chance to watch it. I directed it, but I didn't get a chance to watch it because, when you got your own theater, you're overlooking box office and you're running around doing different things. And that Monday after we opened, my wife and I were in a horrific car accident, and I was in an induced coma for a couple weeks, and I was in the hospital. I never got a chance to see the production, and I was pissed. I was pissed about it because we had a rotating stage, and we had indoor scene, and it just was an amazing show in the rehearsals because I really didn't get a chance to see the show. And then on the tail end of my hospital visit, I needed something to sustain my mind because they had me on heavy narcotics. I was all over the place. It was like a snow globe. And I decided, with the help of Montez Freeland, my artistic associate at the time, I decided that we're going to open our season with August Wilson's piano lesson. And not only that, we were going to do it at the August Wilson Center. And I hired the best. I hired Tony Ferrari to design the set, and we had equity actors, and it was a really expensive show to do. I had special effects guy I brought in, and I directed it from a wheelchair. And August helped me escape that misery that I was in, being around the artists, doing the work, doing August's work. I was able to really escape the nightmare of a life that I was dealing with. So I thank August for that. I thank Costanza for that, for allowing us to have the opportunity to do the work. We were one of the first companies fortunate to produce the whole American Century Cycle. And this coming August, we will probably be the first theater company. And it doesn't matter that we'll be the first, but we will complete the cycle for the second time this August with our production of Two Trains Running. So I'm very grateful. I'm very honored to be able to just work on August's work. It's been an amazing part of my life. One of the things that I learned when we were in Alaska about August's work, I was up to with Delroy Lindo, and one of the things is back at that time in 1998, the only time you could see August Wilson is if you went to the Pittsburgh Public Theater, our biggest theater. And a lot of times at that time, the artistic director would bring in Israel Hicks. So he would use all the actors from Denver or somebody from another city. Pittsburgh actors never ever got a chance to do August's work. So when in 1998, my goal was to familiarize our Pittsburgh artists with our favorite guy, August Wilson. So I started a reading roundtable in my home the first Monday of each month. And Dina Levitin, August's assistant at the time, sent me boxes of scripts. And we did a reading the first Monday of each month. And I had actors coming in from Ohio, from DC, from Philadelphia, in my living room. And I got a call one day. This was in October of 1999. And he says, "Hey, Mark." I said, "Hello." He's like, "You reading tonight?" I was like, "Yeah." "Who's this?" This is August. I said, "Oh, yeah. We're reading Jitney." He caught a Jitney up to the house, to my house in the Upper Hill, and he read Turnbow. And this was before cell phones and, you and Facebook and all that stuff. And it was an amazing evening. He did some poetry. He read Jitney with us. He took photos with us. And it was just an amazing evening. It just showed you the type of person he is. He was about the work and he was about community. And I really miss him. So
Wow, that's amazing. And thank you for that, Mark. I mean, I knew you had a lot to share. I was just going to let you share. And I just want to follow up on the theme on it's a family affair because Mark is in charge of basically two different families. One, there's the Pittsburgh Playwrights Theater family. And a lot of these people at this point, they have grown up. I mean, you've been at this for how long, Mark?
we're in our 21st season.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm like. If you started with Mark and you were a teenager, if you played Raynell or you were one of the little, children,
Mm.
you are now grown. You're grown and you grew up doing Pittsburgh Playwrights Theater Company. There is a family of actors and actresses in Pittsburgh Playwrights. And so it's so important to honor their legacy, honor their work. I remember, like it sounds romantic now, but Mark didn't always have the money. He was scraping and scrounging, using bits and pieces from other theaters, collecting volunteers. It was a lot of hard work. And I want to emphasize that because people think when you see the shiny building later on, they're like, "Oh yeah, you made it." But you're like, but I mean, I could have actually made it maybe a little bit sooner if I had gotten a little bit of financial assistance beforehand.
Yeah.
But there's that.
Yeah.
But also there is Mark's direct family. So the
Yeah.
Southers family. I think it's really beautiful that like literally the entire Mark Southers family is working on the theater, the Pittsburgh Playwrights Theater Company, but also at his new Madison Art Center. And so Marvin Delaney, he talked about when I gave the tour of the Hill. I also gave a tour, not through the Madison Art Center, but showed people what the Madison Art Center was and talked about who owned it and everything. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the
Yeah.
Madison Art Center?
Froze. Oh,
Mark?
okay. Yeah. So, the school, to make a long story short, the school was getting ready to be sold to someone who wanted to tear it down and make apartments. And I presented a proposal to the owners, and I had got a buyout from my pension from U.S. Steel. I worked there for 18 and a half years. And I used that. I went up there because the buyout was 4 or 5 times more than what they paid for the building. So I'm just going to I went all in. I just put the whole amount out there. And they was like, "Nah, you got to double that." So it is what it is. And I had some stuff saved up, and my wife pitched in, my mother pitched in, and my board president pitched in. And we made it work. So we don't have a mortgage. Everything's paid for. There's no money owed on the building, but it's a lot of work. I wanted to tell the gentleman, the president of ASALH, that we named the theater after a young man who started with us at age 10.
Marvin.
Carter Woodson Redwood. He's named after Carter Woodson. His name is Carter Woodson Redwood, and so that name is on the school now in red letters, and it's Carter Woodson Redwood Theater. And Carter went on to Kappa. He also graduated from CMU, and he's been out there grinding for over 20 years. He started with us at age 10. He directed for us at age 12. He directed for us at age 15. He traveled to Poland with us to perform at age 16. And he's now, you can see him on CBS on Tuesday nights on FBI International. He has a starring role. He plays Andre Raines in here. So
Yeah.
we're really excited about that. But speaking of family, you know, no one wants to die while Trump is president. But I'm so glad that we're alive while the Washington family is taking care of business, getting August Wilson's work done.
Yeah.
I'm just a huge fan. I mean, I think Denzel looks at me like, come on, man, you're a fanboy. I am. I'm a fanboy. You know, I saw their mom in Richard Wesley's Autumn at the Billie Holiday Theater. Beautiful work. I loved it. I've seen Denzel on Broadway several times. He's actually been to my house to watch a rehearsal out in our front yard, which was amazing. And the thing that I really love, which really touched me, is that Malcolm and John David visited my big brother Rick at his store, which is a half a block away from where they fill fences. And Denzel sends them. He sends Malcolm there whenever he comes into town to get chicken and stuff. And Denzel sends for chicken whenever he's in town. And it means a lot. It's huge, especially for my brother Rick, who's been grinding just as hard as I am out here at what he does. And it just shows you how humble they are. And they show appreciation for the community and stuff. So I'm overjoyed that they have taken on this along with Costanza to do films of all the movies. We wish it would have been in Pittsburgh, but we know the reason why. Pittsburgh's like up south. We all know that about Pittsburgh. But I'm just appreciative that it's being done. That August Wilson is being honored in the way that he's being honored. And it's just amazing listening to White Andrews and Sakina talk. I got on a little bit late. It's just amazing. And you always feel like, you just want to sit back and listen because August has touched so many people in his work. And I've been in the airport and people are like, where are you going? I'm going to direct this August Wilson play, in Phoenix, where I'm going here. And people are like, who's that? And these are doctors, these are lawyers, these are people in suits and stuff. Yes. And when I tell them, I said, just Google it, bro. And they're sitting there on their phone and they're like, oh, wow, and, it's different the way that we live now. There's so many people who have been touched by August Wilson that the essence of August is going to live forever because he's captured Black life and Black culture on so many levels. And like Sakina says, I've seen each play over 60 times because I'm a producer and I'm there every night, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you learn stuff. And I have actors who say, man, I did this play. This is my third time doing this play. I'm still learning stuff. And it's the truth because August did theater his way. He wrote plays this way. Of course, he wrote Fences to shut people up, because they want to, the traditional way. And as Black folks, sometimes we're always told we have to fit into a certain box. Mm-hmm. And August wasn't about that. August was old school. He wasn't about that. And that's what I tell a lot of folks. Stuff I learned from August. I took his master class in playwriting in South Africa. I sat in on it. Write what you know. Words are free. You can start anywhere you want. You got to make it make sense. It's up to you. If you don't know, do the research. And those are nuggets. Those are gems. You could read that in a book somewhere, but when you have somebody who's successful telling you these things, you better pay attention.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much, Mark. Listen, you have a ton of things to share. I'm very happy that, we've all reconnected, on another level, right? Because we always interact with each other, but we're multidimensional people. We're multifaceted people. And like Sakina said, we all shared August Wilson. We all have an individual relationship and a collective relationship with this author and with this person who was also flawed, and we, as we deal with our own flaws and struggle and, so we're all connected, and that's the beautiful thing. Paul talked about our role in the family, just going to the plays. As Sakina talked about it, I haven't really talked about my mother too much, but I'll mention her before this call is over. And we talk about the Washington family and their role in doing this film. We're talking about your family and your role in the Pittsburgh Playwrights and now the Madison Arts Center. And this is why I wanted to do the call, because there are so many families involved. This is a family affair, literally and figuratively. And we're going to go on to our other figurative family, but we still have more to cover. So thank you so much, Mark.
Yeah, I'm going to see it. I want to see the film for my birthday this week. I'm
Oh,
waiting.
perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I look forward to seeing it again.
I sent Malcolm a text and told him that I love the trailer. This was last month. I said, man, I love the trailer. I love the fact that it doesn't give away stuff like a lot of these films. They want you so bad to come see it. They show you the whole film in the trailers,
Yes.
It looked like a work of art, and I can't wait to see it. I didn't rush out to see it. I couldn't go to the thing here in Pittsburgh because we had got an award from the Pierians, and I had to do a rehearsal with them. So I missed it, and I felt bad about that.
No, you're gonna love it.
I know I am. I can't wait. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mark. And we'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right.
So next up, everybody, the beauty continues. There's so much when it comes to August Wilson. So next up, we actually have someone that plays two different roles in many different ways. First, with the Bill Nunn Theater Outreach Project, and second, well, actually three roles. And then second, with regard to being on the board of the August Wilson House. And then third, being the head of Fashion Africana. And I'm talking about no one else than Demetria Bocella. Welcome, Demetria.
Thank you. So good to see you. I apologize, my camera is off.
Oh, no problem. So everybody, Demetria just produced a full production just a couple of days ago. And I actually had to text her and I said, oh my goodness, I got an eye, something like an outpatient thing on my eyes. I couldn't see. I couldn't go anywhere. No. And I was like, oh no, Demetria, I'm sorry, I'm gonna miss it. But so Demetria, no. So tell us first about your role with Bill Nunn and working on the August Wilson monologue competition here in Pittsburgh.
Yes. So thank you so much, Kimberly, for the opportunity to share the work of the Bill Nunn Theater Outreach Project. I met Bill back in, I think it was in 2007 when I was working as a funder in the arts. And he had expressed an interest in creating a theater outreach program. And so I helped him design that program. We funded it. He partnered with Point Park University. And one of the core components was the August Wilson monologue competition that was co-founded by Kenny Leon and Todd Kreitler. And so Bill was just really passionate about it. And in 2008, I had moved and I became a consultant, transitioned out of philanthropy and started working closely with him. And I think it was at that time when he found out he had cancer. And so he could not travel as frequently. And so I just jumped on board and provided support and haven't stopped since then. It's now 2024. And it's just been such a blessing to witness the transformation of our youth when they're exposed to the works of August Wilson. And it's just really a blessing. And Bill was very passionate about it. And even during his treatment, just seeing him work directly with the kids, it just brought him so much joy and healing. And it's just been a blessing to be able to do that. And the competition is a national competition. It's now called August Wilson New Voices. And and it's in, several cities around the country, or maybe close to 10 around the country. And it's just a wonderful way to celebrate August Wilson's work through the voices of our youth. Oh, I can't hear you, Kimberly. Is that my audio?
No, it was me.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Sorry. Sorry. No, I was saying thank you so much for that introduction, Demetria. And for those of us who were around when Fences was being filmed, I remember being on the set, and the next thing you know, Bill Nunn was in a vehicle. He was being driven around to the set to say hello, to Denzel and the cast and crew. And, those of us who knew his condition knew that he looked, he was definitely wearing down. And but we were really happy to see him, and said hello to him, and just talked. So I still have pictures, of that moment. And Bill Nunn, just because you mentioned Bill Nunn, I met Bill Nunn in Atlanta. I was a college student.
Wow.
And if you recall, I guess the world met Bill Nunn when he was doing Radio Raheem and Love and Hate, and so that, my girlfriends and I were like, we kept doing that to him, you know what I mean? So it was hilarious. And but then I realized, like, oh, he's like, he's a human being. Don't typecast this man.
So and hilarious. He was really funny.
Very funny. So to see him perform in Atlanta was really, really wonderful. So Demetria, I want everybody to be clear that your work through the Bill Nunn Theater Outreach Project brought the August Wilson Monologue Competition to Pittsburgh by way of Bill Nunn.
Yes.
Now, presently, Derek Sanders, who's actually in rehearsal right now. I thought that a Monday would be okay because like all the theater people would be off, but clearly y'all have found a way to be busy regardless. So, but Derek Sanders is now the head of the August Wilson Monologue Competition.
Yes.
And he is operating out of the Huntington Theater in Chicago. So this link right here, for those who are unaware, this is for the Huntington Theater. But Demetria, because I was looking, is there a set URL just for the August Wilson Monologue Competition overall?
They're in the process of revamping it. So there will be a new website highlighting the competition. So
okay.
I do know that will be launched very soon. But right now on social media, on Facebook and Instagram, August Wilson New Voices, you can follow those pages to learn more, but the website will be up very soon.
Okay. That's good to know, because I definitely was looking for the website. I wanted to make sure I captured everything. And I was like, why am I lost? I don't know why I would be lost. But the other big announcement, you all, is that the August Wilson Monologue Competition will the finals were always in New York and largely at the August Wilson Theater. But last year, the finals were in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And so they're going to be in Pittsburgh again for 2025. So everybody get ready, because I often hear people, curious about, oh, how do I get my high school student involved? What do I do? And so, I just wanted to make sure that you all know the finals are in Pittsburgh. You want to look up this website here at huntingtontheater.org and on social media. And you said Facebook and Instagram, right?
Yes, but it's under August Wilson. It's under August Wilson New Voices.
Oh, August Wilson New Voices. Okay, I'm going to put that up because I really want you all to get involved. Listen, you all, young people have to learn August Wilson. They have to be involved. They do not have to be a theater student or an aspiring theater student. This is just like, I'm sorry. Yeah, I wanted to show this. This is just like if you were in a debate club, or if you just did an after school activity, or if you entered a literary contest. That's all that it is. You don't have to be aspiring to be in theater.
Right.
And it is transformative for your life. So those of you all who are teachers, if you're a teacher of high school, if you're a counselor, introduce these young people to August Wilson so that they can know how to navigate their lives. They are very, I mean, at first I thought, like, isn't that too old for you? But no, because the experiences that young people are having are very, very adult in many ways. And August Wilson is your answer to help you wrestle with your feelings and wrestle with your demons, as he said. So Demetria, did you want to share something else about the August Wilson monologue competition?
No, I think you pretty much covered everything. Oh, well, no, I do. So as part of the regional, well, the national competition is that it targets high school students 9 through 12, but there are cash awards that's awarded to the top 3. And then those 3, and I think the awards this year, they range from, I want to say 500 to 2,000, somewhere around there. They went up, which is great. And then in Point Park University here in Pittsburgh has always been a partner from the inception when Bill designed his theater outreach program, and they award scholarships to the winners of the competition. And many of our young people have taken advantage of that opportunity, and it's been phenomenal. And also I want to share is that some of those, one of the winners, actually one of the first winners was Carter Redwood. So when Mark was talking about Carter and, and how young he was when he started with him, I just thought that was just so beautiful. And that's probably why he won the competition, because all that great training he got under Mark. But yeah, it's such a great program, and we do target, but it's not limited to underserved youth. And yeah, it's just a wonderful opportunity all the way around.
Okay, perfect, everybody. So be on the lookout for August Wilson New Voices. And by the way, there is a documentary called August Wilson's New Voices on Netflix.
Giving
so you
Voice.
can look. I'm sorry.
Giving Voice is
Giving Voice. Oh,
yeah.
Lord. Okay.
But it's about the August Wilson monologue competition.
It is. It's all about the August Wilson monologue competition, but Giving Voice. But it is so good. And so Derek Sanders is actually in that documentary, and you can see him coaching his students in Chicago and things like that. So this is just a reminder, you all, that there is so much overlap in the August Wilson literary and biological, and artistic family. I want to remind you all of that. We are all connected in many different ways. This is not just about one particular play, one particular company, one particular family member, one particular thing. This is not. This is a collective story about somebody who touched so many different lives and has empowered us all. And everybody has a right to claim their space with that person and with that legacy. All right. Speaking of, Demetria, you were just with Kenny Leon just the other day. Do you want to tell us about Fashion Africana and what Kenny might be up to?
Yeah. So my organization that I have, it's called Fashion Africana. And as part of that, we have an initiative called the Africana Initiative. And Kenny, we presented an award to him, and it was called the Africana Icon Legacy Award. And through the Africana Initiative, it's just a program that's designed to enrich arts and cultural education for middle and high school students. And our mission is to empower, inspire the next generation of young artists and cultural leaders, fostering a vibrant connection between Black creatives in the USA and Africa. And so we do that through artist residencies, and we introduced our new artist in residence. Her name is LaFalise Dion, and she's from the Ivory Coast, and she arrived the night of the gala. But we had the great honor of presenting an award to Kenny Leon, and he really blessed our city with his presence, his energy, And yeah, it was just really phenomenal, and everyone was so excited, and they were excited to learn more about Our Town on Broadway too, that he has directed, that's running right now, I think until January, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has Othello in the spring with Denzel Washington and Jake Gyllenhaal, so that's going to be very exciting as well.
Yes, indeed. Well, Demetria, thank you so much for sharing that. We're happy to see Kenny Leon still operating. Samuel Jackson was teasing him at Morehouse because he said, yeah, and our production of the piano lesson was higher grossing than your, like, I was like, oh, now you're really in competition with each other. It was pretty hysterical. But I did not know that the Samuel Jackson, LaTanya Richardson directed piano lesson on Broadway was the highest grossing
Wow.
August Wilson play. So, and
Wow.
that set was phenomenal. And so it
Yeah.
was clearly worth the investment, and we got a great return on our investment for that play. So great job. Well, thank you so much, Demetria. We will be back in touch. And as I said, this is not the only call. We're going to do another call. I got a lot of like, oh, I'm so sorry, cancellations, but it's okay. So I've got some surprises for you all in the future, and I know that you're going to enjoy it. But thank you so much, Demetria, for joining us. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. So next up, family, we have, speaking of Fashion Africana, we have a young man who had me speak at an ancestry reveal at the University of Pittsburgh. And so I want to bring him up to have a discussion about literally the African role in the extension of our arts and in our interaction with August Wilson. And I don't even know if he's seen the piano lesson yet, which is not a requirement for this call, by the way. But welcome to the stage, John Gotti. Welcome. John, are you here? Oh dear. I'm not sure that he can hear me. All right. Well, I'm going to bring John back. But so one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and actually to bring my brother back, Paul, yes, pay attention. It is just to talk briefly about the role that our mother played in the legacy of August Wilson, because I don't think that a lot of people know about it. And also, full disclosure, my brother and I have been grieving for the last 15 to 10 to 15 years. August 30th of 2024 marks the 10th anniversary of losing our mother. And it was devastating to us because, like how the Washington children talk about Miss Pauletta and how much they love her, as their mom and everything that she has done for them, that is how much we love our mother. And so it's been devastating. We did keep pushing on, but there's a lot of things that we just hadn't done, that we hadn't reconciled with because we lost her. So I'll just talk about, Paul talked earlier in the call about how when our grandmother Daisy Wilson passed away in 1983, how our family reunions, they revolved around her memorials. Like other families, they had summer family reunions or like fall family reunions, but we didn't. Ours was in March because she passed away in March. And so it always involved the family coming, staying at our house. We didn't have a big house. It wasn't anything super fancy. We would give up our beds and but my mom was an excellent cook, and people contributed, to the food and things like that. And I think because she still lived in the Hill, because August Wilson came to the family reunions anyway, my mother's house and my mother became the unofficial spokesperson for August Wilson in Pittsburgh. Paul, would you say that that's a correct assessment?
I would, and I think a lot of it had to do with, um, people in the family and around our circle just underestimating the volume of work that my mom would, our mom would, you know, it's, you know, if it's one of those things that if you know, right? I mean, um, people that, you know, my uncle's profile kept increasing over the years, right? So um, dealing with the reporters, dealing with the people calling the house, um, you know, some of them knew before that he was coming to town before we did. Um, it was our mom that fielded all of that work. She's the one, you know, just, you know, beating the streets, passing out flyers, you know, fielding calls, organizing, coordinating, basically all the work that uh, you know that people ordinarily don't want to do, you know, or they underestimate, you know, and the attention. My mom was a teacher, so her attention to detail, you know, was extraordinary, and you know, every year it was kind of like being an event planner for her, you know. Excuse me, because I have hiccups. um, you know, it was like being an event planner. So, um, you know, she definitely was the glue that held the family together. There's no question about it. Uh, she stayed on top of all these things. She coordinated. She made the calls. You know, my uncle relied very heavily on our mom to get those things done when he was coming to town. He knew that that she would take care of these things. So, uh, you know, she was instrumental. I can't overstate it enough. Um, she was just an extraordinary person, and our mom was a very hard worker. You know, we used to, as we were growing up, we had people, busy professionals, excuse me, ask us. Um, sorry, um, they busy professionals used to ask us how our mom does it. You know, because in addition to being a single mom raising two kids, and she was, you know, working full time, dealing with my uncle stuff. She you know, participated in dance classes almost every day. Was volunteering for the August Wilson Center and all these other organizations around town. You know, mentoring young uh, men and women, and you know, and as an extension of her educational pursuits and her job. You know, we had students calling the house constantly because she was so helpful that they would just reach out, right? And she would extend herself to the point where her students were calling the house in order to get questions answered. We actually argued about it a couple of times. I was like, I said, you know, you, because you know, I mean, I thought they were taking some unfair liberties when it came to, you know what I mean? You know, I didn't have that option in college, right? Calling my college professor, you know, at 9 o'clock on a Sunday.
Uh-huh.
Like, I mean, are you kidding me? You know,
Exactly.
asking mundane questions that you know, because they didn't want to, you know, do the work. I had an issue with that, you know, but that's another story. Um, so yeah, bottom line is she played a pivotal role. I'm very grateful uh, to our mom. She stressed education, and you know, she's definitely the reason why we are where we are today.
Absolutely. And can you see me? Because something happened with my screen.
Yes, I can. Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I think that that's really important. And one of the famous reporters that my mom fielded for our uncle was Ed Bradley. And Ed Bradley, you know, he came to do a 60 Minutes interview. And we do have a funny story about Ed Bradley's visit, which actually we'll share in the next call. We can't give everybody, you know, everything, but we will share in the next call about what happened with the Ed Bradley visit. But I think it's really important for people to know that our mother, Frida Ellis, also had an educator family. Paul talked about it a little bit. You know, she taught at Carlo Hill College. She taught at Computer Tech. She taught at Community College of Allegheny County, both on the north side and downtown. And so our mother had her own family of students and coworkers who were beloved by her, and they loved her. And so, you know, was sort of sad because our mother, she got dementia, and dementia just sneaks up on you. You know, you don't know, you're not prepared. And so it was just sort of sad because she just sort of disappeared. Um, and so, you know, it's been a dramatic situation. It's sad to deal with, but we honor her by the work that we continue to do. And the one thing I wanted to make sure that did not happen was that, you know, her story needs to be told. It needs to be told well and accurately, and our mother can never be erased. So anytime you explore anything about August Wilson, and especially in the city of Pittsburgh, although it's not just the city of Pittsburgh, you want to make sure that you keep Freda Ellis's name in your mind and in your memory, because she was significant, including, you know, sewing buttons on our uncle's jacket when they burst, when he was preparing for a Broadway opening. Just things like that. As Sakina discussed, I think so. Paul and I think were too bad, so we were not allowed to come to the Ma Rainey's Black Bottom Broadway opening. But Sakina was there, and so was my mother, Freda Ellis. So from my recollection, Sakina and our mother are the only people that went to all of the Broadway openings, and that's really important. It's very significant on so many different levels. So, you know, I just wanted to make sure that I said that. So I really want to thank you all. Okay, there we go. Is there something else that you wanted to say?
No, just I'm just grateful to be here on the call. Thank you for organizing it. And you know, it's unfortunate in many respects that the work that my uncle sought out to do in terms of creating opportunities. You guys were talking earlier about the struggle continues. You know, I just think it's important to keep in mind that not only do we need to, you know, refresh August Wilson's, you know, legacy, because, you know, I mean, if you were born in, you know, 95 or something, you might not necessarily know who August Wilson is. You know what I mean? I think people forget, you know, you have to keep things, you know, alive and fresh in people's mind. You know,
Yes.
I mean, here in the Hill District, it's critical because nothing was given to him. Like he worked hard for everything that happened to him. And so if you're a young man or a young lady in the streets of the Hill District, you need to understand his story because it's deeply inspirational. And you need to understand that he walked these same streets, you know.
Yes.
So, and you know, and so they need to know, because a lot of our young people, they struggle with how to identify a path forward, and they develop a sense of hopelessness because they can't see, you know, they think that opportunities are lost across, you know, across the board, you know, because, you know, based on their individual circumstances. So it's very important that we stay on top of these things, and you know, and make sure that they see the path forward, and they understand that they too, you know, can chart their own course, you know, and achieve whatever greatness they personally are destined for. That's very, very important. So I'll just leave it at that. I know there's a lot going on, and you got other guests and stuff. So
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Paul. We just wanted to say that about our family and our mother, and we have more to share with in that regard. So, you know, we have plenty more. I want to thank you all so much for coming on the call. I was trying to get. Let me. I want to see if I can get John Gotti up in here for like just a couple of minutes before we close out. But thank you so much, Paul, and we'll talk to you soon. John Gotti, are you there?
Yes, I am here, my queen.
Okay.
There's so many events going on today. I apologize.
Oh, no. It's okay. So tell us briefly, John Gotti, what you do in Pittsburgh. I'm so happy to have a literal African presence on the call. It's really important to us. We wanted to make this, you know, a fully international call. So tell us what you do, and have you seen the piano lesson yet?
I have not, but I looked at the trailer, so I'm gonna watch it. And some members of the community have watched it,
Okay.
and they have questions.
Oh, good.
Because
Yes. That's what we want. That's what
as
we
we
want.
said, so as you know, one of the issues about African community is that we are not to everything that goes on in American and especially American culture and everything that goes with that. So I don't want to go too deep into it because obviously there's so many things we can talk about. But I would say from what I saw the trailer, I'm definitely gonna watch it, and I sent it to.
Oh dear, we may have gotten disconnected with John, but you heard him. He said he saw the trailer, and the continental Africans have questions, which is what we love, right? So I think, for everybody, I want to thank all of my guests for coming on the call. The one thing that's really, really important is that the world really needs to understand the actual African American story, not as told through these mainstream labels that are also misrepresenting our culture, not solely through music, even though music is important to us, not solely through hip hop, even though hip hop is important to us. Our story is really largely just beginning to be told in terms of our entire experience. And I think it's really, really important. And I think one of the best ways to end this call is to remind everyone that August Wilson said we should go back to Africa through our grandmothers in the South. It just doesn't get any better than that. You have to go back through your maternal line in the South, so that you can follow your mitochondrial genes to the continents. All right. So I want to thank you all so much for joining this call. We literally couldn't fit everybody in. I'm grateful for that. We are going to have another call after I'm sure that everybody has seen the film, right? Because you may or may not have gotten a privileged access to a screening, and the screenings are great, but I'm just saying that it's really important. And also, this is cyclical. We want you all, and I have heard people say, oh, now I want to read the piano lesson. Yes, you want to read the piano lesson. If you're a young person, you want to start off with a monologue, or you want to ask your teacher to read the piano lesson in the class. This is what we do. So this is a full cyclical relationship. I really want to thank everybody for joining us, and salute to you all. Continue the great work. And as August Wilson has told us many different times, the struggle continues. Have a great night. I'm Kimberly, Dr. Goddess Ellis. If you want to follow some things, you can definitely, I have one new address, which is August Wilson Headquarters. It's really on Instagram. It's to kind of promote these types of calls and these types of things. There's a lot of August Wilson things out there. So this one is just mine. And also, if you want to, you can follow Dr. Goddess. That's who I am, on YouTube. And I also run Black Politics Matter, which is really important. And that is above right there in the logo. So you will see all that and more. Thank you all so much for joining. Take care. Have a wonderful night. And we'll see you again soon. Bye.